When you're about to go to the next level and you're really serious about it, you will be humbled. God will purify every aspect of your life that is not in alignment. Money being purified, my marriage, friendship, certain aspects of business. So if you lean into it, you'll get the lesson. And once you get the lesson, then you'll get the blessing. So that's why I'm not afraid anymore, because I trust God more than I trust my human self. And every time I do it, these magical things just start happening.
Garrain Asé, thank you for joining me, man.
You are so very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I want to start, there's a few places I want to start. I'd like to start by sharing the story of how you came to Confluence, because I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I was just rummaging through my mind. We had 2 speaker spots left, and I was pretty sure who I was going to have fill the second to last one. I was just sitting there thinking, like, who else? And then you popped into my heart, not my mind. It was like oh, yes, for sure him. And I didn't know why, really. Like, I knew a little bit about your story. I'd seen you talk. We both spoke at the Independent National Convention in like 2023 or something like that. Yeah. So I'd seen you speak there. I'd heard your name come up. I had followed you. You followed me. We messaged like a year and a half, 2 years ago, but then that fell apart. We didn't follow up with each other. But you just popped into my heart, and I was like, I don't know why. I don't even know for sure what he would speak about. I know he has a lot of magic to offer. I know bits and pieces of his story, and that in and of itself is incredible. But he has to be there. And luckily, my Confluence partners trust me enough at this point where it's like, I'm just telling you, this person has to be there. They're like, okay. And it always has worked out. And it worked out. Yeah. And it was cool, though, because when I hit you up to come speak, you were saying everything in your reality at that time was like, no, logically speaking, it was like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Share from your side now when I hit you up.
So I have this thing that it's called, it's when God purifies your life into the holy humble. Like anywhere where there's ego, anywhere where you're masking, overcompensating, if you're living a lie, anything, and you're outsourcing your power, when you're about to go to the next level and you're really serious about it, you will be humbled if you're really serious about it. And God will purify every aspect of your life that is not in alignment. I was in the middle of the larva stage, not knowing who I was. Yeah, people know, one of the top 25 personal development coaches in the country and and all of this. Yeah, but I don't identify with him anymore. All of this, just money being purified, business, things in my marriage, friendship, certain aspects of business. It is like I'm in the eye of the storm. And I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know where I'm going. It's like we're in the process of moving, selling a home, buying a home. So moving in itself is stressful. So now moving and shifting into another identity from where you were, where people know you as, and you no longer align with that version of you. So you just pop in and be like, hey, can you come do this thing? Mind you, I'm how some people would call like a miracle manifester. And it was like, this dude would just be like, have $500,000 coaching days in a session coaching somebody just to show an example of what that's like when you assume that energy. And nothing that I was doing was working at that time. Half of my business cut in half of my investments cut in half, everything. So as a man, I'm like dealing with the safety of the home, money dropping, all this. I'm like, and then I'm no longer who you or anyone else sees me as. And nothing is working. Spiritual psychology, 10 days in the dark, 5 days silence, communications level 1, 2, 3, and 4, powerful manifestation, nothing is working. That's when you call. And people are just being like, hey, can you do this? Nope. So I'm turning everything down because I'm still trying to figure out what is going on.
Yeah.
And then that's when it hit me. Oh, yeah. I've been here before, not with the same circumstances, but nobody currently in my life knew me when I was homeless living in my car for 2.5 years. They only know the success stories where I'm on speaking in 100 countries to over 4.7 million people all over the world about what I learned when I was in that version of a larva stage. And then it starts to remind me, wait a second. I lived in my car for 2.5 years, but nobody currently in my life was around. They only know the stories and the lessons that I taught all globally. I didn't know I was in another one of those things until I just was like, God, what show me. Oh, I'm about to shift into another level. Because every single time it had the same ingredients: purify your life, purify your friends, purify your relationships, your money, anything that you outsource to, because anything that has power over you becomes your God. So anything outside of you that you make a God, God will literally relinquish all of that so that you remember the God in you. So in that, I don't know what it was, and I needed the money. So I'm just like, well, I got these things that are paying me a certain amount of money.
Right.
And you're calling me and you're like,
saying, hey, bro.
Well, we can't do it. So I had all of the makeup to turn it down. But one thing I know for a fact is the non-physical world part of us, the unspeakable world, is much smarter than anything a human can fathom. The level of attunement that I felt was the same thing that told me going to prison was going to be okay on day one. When you hear all these horror stories, it was that. And so I said, all right, I'm just going to trust. Amidst everything that's going on, I don't know the fate of my life right now. And everybody's like, oh, Garrain, you're amazing. Right now, I don't identify with any of those things. So I just said yes. And that's where I was. And I said, I'm going to just keep trusting. I'm going to keep trusting. I'm going to keep trusting. And here's what's so beautiful about this. Upon coming into Confluence, when what's the owner? What's the guy's name?
Molly and Ryland.
Okay, Molly and Ryland. When I connected with Ryland, he's one of the first people who greeted me. He told me about this place when I first met him 1.5 years ago, but I didn't know this was the place that I was going. It was something about his smile that made me feel exactly the same way I felt when I was going to prison, which said, everything is going to be okay. Just keep trusting. And I said, okay, I'm just going to keep trusting. And I knew it was in alignment because the entrance of, my friend, my videographer, you know, his name is Wyatt. And so the entrance of the thing, it's something told me to invite Wyatt. And then all of a sudden it was like Wyatt Road. I'm like, okay, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I know it. And so I'm just going to stay in the trust. And I did. So that was me being okay with the entire storm and knowing that the sun is always still out. So I just trusted the sun.
I mean, and it worked out beautifully.
100%. And it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's like one of the ladies that was at Confluence, well, two of them, JP with the red hair. She came to my last one day. I had a 1-day retreat called the Magical Unlock. She brought a friend, and that friend is just, it's like, she's like a female version of me. Every time she spoke, I was like, I need to be around people like that. And then, so it was just, it's a gift that keeps on giving because I was in pure service. It was not about any kind of, I was in pure service. I'm like, all right, God, I surrender it. I'm here and I will serve. And everybody I come in contact with, I will leave them better than how I found them.
And you did. You did, my man. Like, between, I don't want to, make a hierarchy of whose talks were best or anything like that, but your name came up quite a bit in terms of, it was magical. It truly was. People were leaving in tears. Some people were leaving just laughing like crazy. It was incredible. It was incredible to witness. I want to jump back into some of the things that you just said there, and then I want to move on to hearing your sort of life's journey, because there's medicine in that for people, and it kind of relates to this. So it's funny, Confluence for me, and I shared this on episodes after Confluence, a big theme that came up for me was trust as well, because there was a lot of storms going on both ways.
I could tell in your face. That's why I kept coming up to you and acknowledging you, because when you're a strong force, people rarely check on you. I know, because I'm that. I'm like, can somebody just be like, hey, Garrain, how are you doing? And I say, oh, I'm fine. Garrain, how's your heart? Damn, thank you for asking. So I wanted to make sure that I was at least a continuous presence that could understand what it's like to hold a lot and then make the time and effort. So
you were, man.
Yeah.
The way you moved throughout that whole event, and just from what I've gathered from other people, from other conversations you've had, the way you tend to move is you have so much intention. You look people in the eyes, and you don't just look at them for the sake of looking them in the eyes, because that's what you're supposed to do. You try to really see them, and it doesn't matter who it is. You do that so well, and it's something that I'd like to do better. So I see people like you, people like Edmund Knighton modeling that, and I'm like, that's someone that I look up to. That's someone I want to emulate. That's someone who reminds me to be more of me. I
want to invite you into, instead of looking up to me, look with me.
Yeah.
Because we're right here, and you don't even have to look up. And anything that you see in me is a reflection of what's inside of you. It's just pure, like, you know what? If I align to it, then it's inside of me. And so let this be a mirrorship of, I don't even call it mentorship. It's like, if I see it, I'm like, if I see something in Conor McGregor, I know that's me too.
Yeah.
So we get to look together, and I think that that's how the energy can like transmute even higher.
Well, it's no different than when you read a book that awakens something within you. It doesn't feel like you're learning something new. It feels like
it's reminding you of what your soul already knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And on the topic of trust, this is something that I get so frustrated with myself about. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there listening and watching this episode that feel the same. Like, yeah, that sounds great, but I'm in a fucking storm right now, man. And like, I can't see the way out of this storm. How do I find trust in the middle of this situation right now? And there's times where I've been in some crazy ass storms. I had a very challenging upbringing, let's put it that way, right? And we both have. And for me, I still get frustrated because there's times I slip back into a lack of trust. When I look back at every moment in my life that was a storm, and I can be incredibly grateful for it because I knew what came after that. And still, sometimes when storms come, especially when it's a lot of them at once, I find myself slipping back into not trusting God.
Yeah.
And then I get so frustrated with myself when the inevitable breakthrough happens. It's like a part of me can't fully receive it because I feel shameful that I didn't trust in that situation when I've been repeatedly reminded in my life that this is just a storm that you're in. And if you can find that presence within you, if you can just trust me, if you can just trust God in the situation, it will all be well. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I actually just came out. I just came out the other side of the thing that I was in during the Confluence. I literally just came out of that tunnel. And you can't see the picture while you're in the frame. That's why it's important to have the right combination of people around you. And most people don't. They have tolerated people around them. They have yes people around them. They have, oh, I don't know how to let this person go, but I'm attached because we got history together. But I'm telling you, if cell phones don't even keep their same buttons when they go from iPhone 16 to iPhone 17, and that's a cell phone, they don't keep the same processing speed. The camera is different and everything. They have to let go of what was in order to open up the space to what is actually meant to come in. A lot of times, a lack of trust is convoluted and confused with being afraid to let go. Let go of, you got clothes in your closet. You're like, man, but I'm gonna wear this shirt. But it's been 5 years. And then all of a sudden you get rid of the shirt and all of a sudden you get this random check in the mail and you don't associate that with understanding how the cosmos is working in your favor. So the very first thing I tell, because I always love to provide tangibilities to magical things. First thing I always tell people, if you're feeling stuck and stagnant, you don't know where to look, you don't know who to trust, you don't go straight to your underwear drawer. Find anything that has holes in it, anything that you've been meaning to throw out, but you just said, you're like, but maybe, any of those maybe things, anything that you tolerate. You're like, but I spent $400 on these jeans that you don't wear anymore. That's taking up emotional real estate inside of you. Anything like that does not need to be in your place of temple and sanctuary. So you go look at your clothes, you look at you go to your computer screen and you go and look at that desktop. If that desktop is just, there's no organization in it, watch what happens if you get rid of the things that you know you don't even want. Here's what you can do right now. This right now will change everybody's life right now. Delete every app on your phone right now. You see that? Whatever, it's not the app. It's all the fear that just came up inside of your conscious aware and unawareness right now, thinking about, but Instagram, but all my followers and all the stuff that actually doesn't mean anything to your life. Nobody said you couldn't bring it back. What I'm trying to get at is teach you what to do with energy. It's the mismanagement of energy. So what you do is associate it with a lack of trust, because that's that's your thing. And you lean on that thing. But no, it's a lack of understanding what to do with the energy. So you just go to things that you go in your house and close every loop that's open. Man, like, this thing, I bought it. I was really excited about it, but it's been sitting there for 4 years. Okay, sell it to somebody who will actually use it now. Go to your cell phone right now, delete every app off your phone, and then see how you feel. But Garrain, why is that important? All right, here's why it's important. Because there's a center hub that is harnessing the program of that energy that controls the speed of the internet, that controls how clear the photos and videos are and everything. The more apps you have opened up, slower the phone gets. So when you start closing loops, closing apps, boom, 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 and you get to nothing, watch the speed come back, watch the clarity come back, watch how much battery life you have. Guess what? A human operates the exact format. So however many loops you have open, however many conversations you know you need to have, but because they're uncomfortable, you don't have them. However many, this person, you really want to fire them, but you haven't had the gonads to fire, because this is my friend, whatever. Any of that's taken up emotional real estate, any of those things that is in the background is what causes the phone screen to crack, is what causes cracks in your life, is what causes breakdowns. And so then when that happens and you clear the space, you got to create the space to make room for your next level. But if other things that you know deep down inside you don't want or that you're tolerating, then all of a sudden you say a prayer, God, remove anything or help me. Next thing you know, that person quits or that person leaves. I cannot tell you how many times I said, God, remove any and everyone that does not belong in my life to where you see my life is going. And next day, the person that I deep down inside wanted to fire, but I couldn't because they were too good of a friend. Next day, God spoke to me last night. My time with Artist Power is up. Every single time I do it, it happens. So I don't think it's a lack of fear. It's a lack of understanding how your system that holds energy works. My role is to teach people how to use the instrument rather than just having a pretty looking guitar and you don't know where to put your hands or how to play the music.
I think we can end the episode there, man. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Quick shout out to Podigy, the team that we brought on to produce our podcast. We started working with them last year and the difference was immediate. Way less stress on the back end for us with podcast production, and our YouTube has grown significantly since bringing on Podigy. If you're already running a podcast and looking to boost your production value, or if you're thinking about starting a podcast, I highly recommend working with Podigy. If you check the show notes, there's an assessment that Podigy has put together to give you specific steps to take to grow your own podcast. And that's whether you're just getting started or looking to take your current podcast to the next level. Each month, they're giving away a strategy call with their founder, Justin Moore, and he is incredibly talented and incredibly smart, and he really knows how to grow a podcast from the ground up. So if you're interested in working with Podigy, just head to the show notes and take the assessment. And if you decide to work with them, just mention Alexec in the way forward, and they'll give you a nice little deal. And I want to emphasize too that you're not someone who gets this conceptually.
Right.
You are someone who has lived this.
I live the work.
In a big way.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be appropriate, especially because I don't know how many of my listeners are accustomed to who you are.
Yeah.
And I want to say that in a different way because it's where you've been. It's not who you are, but who you are was shining through that whole time, even in many moments where you didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
That led you to experience those things and then transmute them, alchemize them to become who you are now.
I've got a story that I've never shared on a podcast before, and I think it's now time to share a story that I think is really freaking cool. And it speaks exactly to what you are saying. I didn't know the energy because we all have it. It's just knowing how to use it. I didn't know, like when A-list celebrities, when I was in LA and at a club and they'd be into me, I was like, what do they see? And I couldn't hold that energy because I didn't know what that was. And so my agent, Wilhelmina, and he kept saying, hey, are you dating anybody? I thought he was hitting on me. I was like, why? He asked me 6 times in 1 month. And I was like, and at the time I was. And I was like, yes. And I'm asking, why does he keep asking me that? And then at that time, the girl I was dating ended up cheating on me with one of the guys from NSYNC. From JC from NSYNC. I was like, oh my God, I always lose them to celebrities or NFL players, everyone like that. And then that day, my agent had said, are you dating anyone? He asked me again 7 times in a couple months. And I said, actually, no, I'm not. He was like, good, because I have a friend who wants to meet you. And I'm like, who? He was like, it's a surprise. Come to this club, which was this hole in the wall club named Joseph's, where all the tops, Brad Pitt, Pharrell, like all these type of people, only those type of people could get in. The only reason why I got in is because my roommate was sleeping with the club promoter. So I could get into that club because by way of association.
Yeah.
So I'm in there and the top. And then all of a sudden at a certain point at that night, I don't know who's about to come. And then I'm sitting and there's a pillar that's there and everybody knows a little bitty club. So it's like you could see everybody. And then somebody walks through the door and I'm like, what is happening? Why is everybody acting weird? And I'm still looking that way, waiting for this person. And then all of a sudden, this gay dude with white gay dude with a jerry curl comes and he was like, are you Stefan? I used to go by my middle name in modeling. Are you Stefan? I was like, please tell me and hook me up with a freaking dude. This is crazy. I said, yes. He's like, I have a friend who wants to meet you. And he brings around Britney Spears. It was like right after her and Justin broke up. I'm like, this is the person that's been asking about me. Hold on. Wait, what? This was at the height of her career when she was the go-to it person. Uh-huh. And in my head, I'm like, what is happening? And so for the next 2 hours, me and Brittany were just like dancing. She's running her finger down I was like, what is that? I'm like, what did she see in me? I didn't understand how energy worked. So everybody in the club is like, who, you know how tabloids go. who is the guy that's dancing with Britney Spears, the hottest person on the planet?
Yeah.
The story gets even crazier. I've never shared this before, and I've got plenty of
Are
stories.
you the reason
like
Britney
this.
shaved her head then?
No, no.
I'm just playing.
and no, I didn't even get to that point because I couldn't hold what that energy was.
Yeah.
And so, this was like a rabbit segue moment that speaks into even when you didn't know. So we're talking, and I'm in my head, I'm like, hold on, because she was with Wilhelmina at the time, and I was with Wilhelmina Models. So she saw my card on the wall and was like, this one, and asked about me that many times. And I can't believe I'm sharing this story, but it's this time. I got so many stories like this. And so I told her one time, she didn't write anything down. I said, I have a play that I'm doing in the hood. It's in Inglewood. She was like, I want to go. And I was like, what? I was like, all right. She didn't write anything down. She left that night. Everybody in the club was like, who? And then everybody was like, who is this guy? I was like, yo, this is crazy. My ex-girlfriend was there. And her idol was Britney.
The one that cheated on you?
Yes, the one that cheated on me with one of the NSYNC guys. And she was like, I'm getting a taste of my own medicine. I'm about to throw up. It's the craziest. So I end up going to my play, and in the green room, they're like, oh, everybody was asking, do you have any visitors coming? I was joking. I was like, yeah, Britney Spears. They were like, get the f out of here. I'm like, and I was joking. Bro, 10 minutes later, the lady, she was like, Stefan, you have a visitor outside. I'm like, who? She opens up the door, and it's Britney Spears in a fedora hat. I'm like, you came to my place? She was like, yeah, I told you I would. She didn't write anything down. You don't just show up at a play in the hood. I was like, that was it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, who are you here with? She was like, my mom and my little sister. But I didn't know what that was. I didn't know touring life. I didn't know being the hottest person on the planet. I didn't know. So as just as fast as it came, I couldn't hold that because I didn't know who I was. So it's the one that got away. But I never forget that story when I start attracting things that are manifesting my way out of a 12-year prison sentence in 2.5 years. There's an energy there, and it's the way that you concentrate energy in your body. Even when I wasn't aware, I always was like, there's something, and I just don't know. And it involves trust, deep surrender. And every time I do it, these magical things just start happening. So I wanted to speak to that because I think we all have it. But most people don't trust. They trust human layer trust, but they don't trust God layer trust. So it's like, but I need the safety, and I need this, and I need this, and I need this. If you're stuck in the human, you will never know the divinity of you. And that divinity, you got to understand, when you go out and look at all these trees, and you look at the forest, and you look at all that, you look at the ocean where they've only discovered, humans only discovered 0.7%. And the water is mainly the world. What kind of God could create creation? And then with the same energy, create us? That must mean we got that same stuff, that same thing that's inside of flowers, plants, the ocean, the wind, the stars, the planet, all of it inside of us. What kind of trust would you have to know that you were the eclipse? Not be awed by it and then look at yourself in the mirror and be like, oh, I'm so ugly, and be like, oh my God, wow, look at the stars. Oh my God, my moon, my star sign. No, it's all you. What kind of trust would you have to not see yourself separate from you because your skin color is white, or from you because you're a woman? What kind of trust that beyond all the titles, vegan and friggin' African-American, Anglo-Saxon, and all, what kind of trust would you have to say that I'm all of it? And then relate from that level of love. And I dip in and out. And every time I forget, my life gets very weird. And every time I remember, I am the forest. I'm all of it. And if I come from all of it, then I can see me and I can see you. And yeah, I know you're racist. But if you go to the root of that, you were taught that from someone who never had love, who never, oh my God, I hate the Iraqis. You know what household you'd have to grow up in where every waking moment they say, hate America, hate America, hate America. And then a 5-year-old child is bombing because they didn't. That's not the place I come from. And every time I forget, you don't get certain kudos points because of where you were born. You don't know. It's like, how deep can you go in God within yourself? Because if we're created in God's image, high reflection, what I hate about you, I hate about myself. And so I'm remembering that again. I forgot. And that's when life got difficult. And so God stripped away everything that was in the way of what I forgot so the power could come back to where it originated. And I'm like, oh, duh. It was almost like it was designed for me to forget so that I can remember again. And in the remembering, 10 times wider capacity, way more patient, just in that divine union with God. And my inner circle is now my outer circle. And then these new layers of people are coming into my life. And I trust that more than I trust myself in my human identity.
Man, there's so many threads I want to pull on there.
Pull on all of them.
Okay, I'll try my best to pull on all of them. The first one that comes up for me, I'm just going to go with what my heart is saying to ask here. Why do we forget that so much? Why do we forget that? Why is it so easy for us to see the beauty in other people, to see the beauty in nature, and then forget that inside of ourselves?
The same reason that water is the best thing for you to drink. And yet, majority of people on the planet don't make that holy water. Let me put these sweet drops in it. Let me get this beer. Let me get this spirits. Let me do all this. Let me get all this other stuff to go away from the thing that actually purifies me the most. It's the same reason. Oh, wait a second. It's mainly water in the world. Wait a second. We're mainly made up of water. 75%. There's 75% water in the world. 75% water in our... What an amazing God that somehow we're made up of mainly water and the world is... Well, what is the world actually? Is it what they've taught us in school? In the same lane that they taught us that Christopher Columbus discovered America? You can buy into that system if you want to, or maybe the earth isn't what we actually think it is. When you plant something in the ground and all these, who planted them trees? There is no record of people who planted all them trees. So when you really, really, really think about that, maybe we should probably pay attention more to water. Why are they baptized in water? Why do athletes heal in water? Why, when my shoulder was locked because of CrossFit for 2 years, they've been dry needling, nothing happened. All of a sudden, people are like, why don't you try going into Aquafit? I go into Aquafit, it's nothing but 95-year-old white ladies in here. I'm like, I'm not going into this. And then I leave and I stop. And I'm like, wait a second. But why are they in the water? So I go in the water. 2 months, my pain is gone, and all of a sudden I'm just like having better sleep and better drink, and that's chlorine. What is it about the water? And we're made up of mainly water. So I believe that God's way is through the water. And if we don't forget, what is going to teach us? The certificates? We see how that goes. You get all these certificates and then put a freaking bullet into your brain, snorting cocaine. Seem like the certificates is the scapegoat.
Even money too.
Money, that's a certificate.
Yeah.
Banknote.
I met enough ultra wealthy people that say I was the unhappiest when I made the money because I thought the money was the thing.
Yeah, and you look at the money and it says, "In God we trust." I promise you, that ain't the same God that created all this. That's NLP. They want you to see God and trust on the greenback. So you trust it as your God, and you see it over the government. So you trust it as your God. No, thank you. You can keep that one. Matter of fact, that's lowercase g. So I believe that we forget as a part of our training because that's the only way to get our attention. I've run 64 miles over a mountain that I did not train for. I only trained for 24 miles. The rest of the way, I'm like, God, thank you for this. And it became a sanctuary. And all of a sudden, 64 miles later. But if you came to me and you've never run a marathon before, and I've run 3 back-to-back in the same setting, first thing I'm going to ask you is how you want to complete the race. Do you want to walk across? Do you want to just kudos points? You just want to complete it? Do you want to compete? Top 200, top 100, top 50, top 25, top 15, top 10, top 5, top first place, break a world record. Based off of what you say, that'll determine the specific training I give you. I'm not training you to break a world record if you just want to complete it. So in my frame of reference, the moment we send out a signal called, I want this big life. I want to retire my parents. I want something way more than what I have. It unlocks the equal of its resistance to test you to see if what you want is what you really want. And that's your training. So it's not the fact that we forget. It just might be the fact that we don't know that's the other side of what we asked for. And that's the mode that's going to shape you and develop you and mold you into the kind of person that has the capacity that will hold for the big thing that you said you wanted. The shadow is you don't get rid of the shadow. You need to know how to work with it. You don't get rid of darkness. I want to get rid of all my darkness. No, you just don't know how to work with it. But the animals do. The plants do. The moon and the star, you can't even see the moon without darkness. You plant a seed into the ground, into the mycelium network, and then the rooting system. You can't even see the roots. And then that's the antennas that go into darkness. Darkness is actually magic. But the reason why people don't operate that way is it's not their fault. We've been programmed since babies. Monsters in the closet, black is bad, darkness is bad. That's why people, like a lot of white people fear black people, not because it's a black person, it's because of the programming. Black male, black list, black line, but everything associated with black is bad. It's all programming. So then when you encounter a black male, all of a sudden, all of the programming comes up. And that's deliberately done.
Yeah.
Black magic, black like angel. I mean, what is it? The devil food cake is black and angel food cake is white. It's all part of the programming for division and separatism and black and white construct and everything.
Yeah.
So now, how deep you want to go?
Deep, man. That's
okay.
This audience wants deep. I know that for sure.
I believe that there is a system that's designed to steal us away from ourselves. Not our programmed human living in America. This is the American dream. I'm free, but I'm not really free.
Mm-hmm.
I learned freedom, real freedom in prison. In losing my freedom, I found a level of freedom I didn't have when I was free. So that taught me, hold on. There's a program. There's the people who believe Christopher Columbus discovered America, which going through elementary school in the 80s, I'm like, oh yeah, you get to stay home from school. Yay, Christopher Columbus. And that's how they programmed us. There's the people that are going to keep that story. And then there's the people that say, wait, there's another part of history. There's another part of Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
I will introduce you to that on this call. But why are they committed some of the craziest crimes? There's another side of the moon. It's like there's another side of the coin. There's another side of the story. And so I believe that in order to still our souls, the true essence of who we are away from us, they had to create when I say they, the people who are in control of the people, who are in control of the people who we think are in control.
Bigger than Rothschild, Rockefeller, like
way bigger.
That. Yeah. Yep.
Way bigger.
Yep.
It's like, well, they give you these names.
Yep.
So I believe that the greatest lie ever told is what this earth is, who we really are. Really are. I mean, think about it. There can only be one this. Imagine if there was 1 million Michael Jacksons walking around right now. Why is Michael coming back right now during a time of so much turmoil? And my 4-year-old, Michael Jackson, them high frequency sounds. Yeah, now I didn't know what propaganda was back then when they were like, oh my God. So I had to go off faith he didn't touch those little kids.
Right.
But now you see what they do to really powerful people. Well, he was in the lives of, in the purity of billions of people. I could tell you right now, God will not grant somebody access to make that kind of transmission if your spirit's not clean. You don't make the earth song
right
and touch little kids at the same time. It will not, as a transmitter, gets cuts off and all of a sudden I can't think and create.
You don't inspire real unity in that way.
And now all of his albums are going #1, all of them, even ones that I never really listened to. Songs going #1, coming back right now when we need the frequency so much as humans. And now what's happening to little kids? Their artistry, people actually taking music serious, taking development serious when they're seeing. And I'm like, thanks for coming back, Mike. You've never inspired me more. The reason why I'm talking about this is because imagine that's one vessel. Imagine there's 1 million. Too much power, out of control. Said to limit the power. No, there can only be one. The king of pop. No, he's the king of entertainment, period. Ain't no king of genre. That was a prophet, 100%. I don't care what your religion says. You cannot create that from that place with billions of people and then come back as if he's here. It don't happen. So the reason why I say that, so imagine me and you start trusting, open vessel, clearing the cobwebs. And yeah, he looked like what he looked like. And yeah. And we did it to him. We talked about him. We did all that stuff. Humans did that to one of our most precious souls that all he ever wanted was to protect our children.
The irony.
And us and the kids inside of us.
Right.
I believe there is a battle that is being lost on the negative side. Otherwise, this Michael Jackson, Netflix put out a special talking about that court case to subdue what has happened with Michael Jackson, and Netflix stock went all the way down, lowest it's been in the last 15 years in 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
I see what's happening. And this is a good tangent, by the way. I'm just like, I want everybody to be in their childlike wonder, to be in their artistry, to develop it, because I believe the new revolutionaries are artists and creators, because those are the ones who are crazy enough to move the human race forward. I'm not talking about black race, white race. I'm talking about human race forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe somebody's losing and somebody's winning in a way that's causing the people who are in tune to feel things that they've never felt before. And I believe as we're shifting in Earth 2.0, you can't have that without human 2.0.
Yeah.
And I think that people that are getting purified, you told me about some things things like that are happening for a lot of people, because I believe that the light bearers that have been holding light for a long time needs to be purified so they can have the capacity to be able to download this next level of human and be the example for the next phase of those little kids to come and take the torch from us.
Your wife's had 2 births.
Yep.
So you've seen that process happen.
I've seen it.
And you've seen that in the moment of transition, what that's like, where it's like, I remember my wife looking at me in the birth of our second, and she had this look on her face of like, I want to quit. I can't do this. This is too hard. This is too challenging. This is too painful.
That's when we had to step up.
Exactly. Exactly. And what's wild is I had the wherewithal to recognize that because of the first birth, and then with our third baby, even more so. But the point is, in that moment, everything feels like it's collapsing. You feel like you can't hold this level of power and intensity in your body. And then on the other side of that is absolute magic, the creation of a new life. Yeah. And I feel like right now, I would even say right now, more so than 2020, 2021, 2022, we are in that collective sort of frenetic energy and individual energy of like, I feel like I can't hold all that's happening around me at the same time because we're in the birthing process. And on the backside of this, if we just trust in our body's innate wisdom, trust in the community that we've surrounded ourselves with, trust ultimately in God, that we're going to experience absolute beauty on the back end of that. But it's like that tension point of transition and birth that it's like, I feel like I can't do this anymore. I know a lot of people are experiencing that right now. Like, this is too much to hold. My finances, like they're collapsing. The housing market's crazy right now. Like, oil prices are skyrocketing. They're going back down. They're going back up. That means food's going to go up. I like all my relationships are falling apart. Like, how do I hold all of this right now? And again, it comes back to trust. And it's like, I'm telling myself that right now too, because we had to reschedule this podcast because what just happened yesterday, and we don't need to get into it. But the point is, it was a really challenging situation. And I was talking with Rebecca, who's sitting just off camera now. It's like, what else? Like, how many things? And it's like, oh yeah.
When you said that to me, I actually smiled. I was like, welcome to the initiation.
Yeah. And I know that too.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to have people in your circle who remind you of that, who reflect that back to you. And that's what this conversation is doing to me. It's like, oh yeah, this is exactly what needed to happen. I knew that deep down too. I knew that deep down that that's what needed to happen in order for my organization to grow into what it really, truly could be. But
and here's what I'll say. And I meant to touch upon this earlier, but then I got into Michael Jackson.
It's all good.
Got real happy.
No, can I summarize what I took that you were saying there?
Yeah.
Like, what Michael Jackson did is
still doing.
Yeah, 100%. Is that he allowed his childlike essence. I know people throw around that term like your inner child. Like, no, he was his inner child fully embodied into a human form and expressing it through art that was at a frequency that positively impacted the lives of other people. Yes, there's celebrities that rise that like negatively impact people that you can start questioning like, okay, why are they allowing that person to get the fame that they have? Like, there's some questions there. But to get to that level of fame with the purity that he held in his body expressing through him from a childlike state, and then it was inverted to make it seem like he was doing the exact opposite of what he was really doing. And now we're coming full circle with humanity really collectively starting to question things and also wake up.
This is what I love about the younger generation.
Yes.
Because they're not buying the stuff that we bought.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know social media during that time.
Yeah.
But the younger generation is doing all the research and I'm like learning so much. And so there's a part of me that's getting this healing.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, this makes sense. And they're not buying it. And that's what I love. And so many people are so quick to like talk about the like Generation X and just like downplay. I'm like, no, listen, but when they believe in something, they stand by it and there's nothing you can tell them.
Yeah.
The parents can't even tell them. So it's like now I'm feeling, and I'm just bringing this Michael again, because it's what he represents. There's a purity and a truth. I'm feeling for the first time in my lifetime, the people overriding the powers that perceive to be. And I'm like, yo, yes. My 1-year-old today, Chief, He was like, Michael Jackson. Smile. And the whole house dancing. And I'm like, so imagine people elevating their vibration and frequency. Like it just feels good.
Yeah.
But back what I was going to say, a tangible thing someone can do is close those loops. Just have the tough conversation. You just get a clean sheet of paper and write open loops. Just write open loops. Everything that you've been meaning to do. Like I've always wanted to play the piano and you've just been avoiding that, but like your soul is connected to it. Start the piano lessons. Oh, my thing is like, I need to get physical with men. I need to activate my primal nature. I was like, I've been procrastinating on buying wrestling mats just so I can just, in a safe way, just like get in there. Boom. And then today I was thinking about, I was like, I need to get physical. I need to. And then I get a text message 5 minutes later from a guy named Sean G. He's a world champion jiu-jitsu guy, but he's my personal friend. I was like, hey man, would you be willing to he was like, man, I would love to intro you into, so my first jiu-jitsu lesson is on Thursday.
Wow.
And so like, start closing those loops, because behind the things that you've been avoiding, but that your soul is calling you to, is the key to unlock everything that you feel has you stuck right now. Organization, money, intimacy. It's behind the doorways of the things that you're avoiding. You don't know why you're avoiding them, but you know you need to do them.
Health.
100%.
You can't biohack.
No.
You cannot biohack your way into health when you are still buying into lies within yourself.
100%. If you got a shitty attitude, I don't care how many things that you talk about biohacking and and all this other stuff, and you look a certain way and whatever, but your attitude towards humans is horrible. Oh, let me tell you something. You are on your way to some really unclean diseases in the body. It's not the look. It's what's going on with the vibration inside.
Most of our modern lives are spent completely disconnected from the natural world. Artificial light environments, concrete, rubber soles on our feet, non-native EMFs everywhere. We have totally immersed ourselves in a completely unnatural world. Getting outside and putting your feet on the earth is actually vitally important for our health. And that's why I've worn Earth Runners for years, especially when I'm out in nature, whether I'm on a trail, hiking, fly fishing, camping, or just spending time outside at an event like Confluence with the earth beneath my feet. Earth Runners are minimalist sandals that are especially great when you're out in a natural environment. They have a wide toe box and a flexible sole that lets your feet spread, grip, and move naturally on uneven terrain, whether it's trails, grass, sand, or dirt. Instead of restricting your feet the way most modern footwear does, they allow your feet to engage naturally with the ground and move the way they were designed to do in a natural setting. What also makes Earth Runners unique is their conductive grounding design, which allows your body to reconnect with the Earth's natural negative charge while you walk. And as I've discussed on a variety of podcast episodes, negative charge is essential for your body's energy production. If you value getting outside, reconnecting with nature, and moving in a way that your body was designed to move while on natural surfaces, check them out. Head to earthrunners.com or just head to the show notes and use code FORWARD10 at checkout for 10% off. Again, that's FWRD10 for 10% off your order. If you're ready to rewild your health and walk in deeper alignment with nature, then check out Earth Runners and feel the difference from the ground up. Amen. Amen, man. I mean, I've experienced before. I've shared this on the show a number of times now, and I won't get into all the details because you probably heard it on so many other episodes for those who are listening and watching, but like, There were times where I probably had cancer in my body because I was still dealing with stuff with my mom. And like those were, you could effectively say, open loops that I hadn't closed within myself, whether it be the perception of the relationship that I had with my mom, or like some things that I needed to say to her, or some feelings that I need to feel associated with my relationship with my mom. Like that manifests as physical dis-ease in the body. And had you looked at my life at that time, I'm doing everything right from a holistic health perspective. Like I'm running a holistic health oriented podcast, and like you can't escape that. There's no escaping that, and there's no faking it either. There's no faking it.
I want you to repeat after me really quick.
Yeah.
The outside is the physical manifestation
of what's going on inside. of what's going on inside.
That
Period.
right there is the gateway to everything.
Yeah.
So if you don't like what you see, it's going on inside.
Yeah.
Because we're a projection. Everything, you're like, I don't like this, and this thing's not. And that's something I had to remember. I'm like, oh, I stopped this, and I stopped this, and I stopped this, and I stopped my daily prayer, and I stopped this. And meanwhile, I'm complaining about the stuff and I was in a thing for a year and a half that I just came out of.
Why'd you change your last name?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Because you were Garrain Jones.
Yeah. I have always, and they don't teach white culture this. This is a thing that Black and brown people just know because we're raised with it, is the majority of our last name is slave owner last names. And so when you hear names like Jefferson, Jackson,
Washington,
Jones, Johnson, the majority of those are Black and brown people. Like you see our forefathers, like Lincoln freed the slaves. How many white people last name is Lincoln?
Right.
So like there's a story, then there's another story.
Right.
And so when you see things like George Washington and whatever, our forefather ain't my forefathers. Not on that stolen land.
No way.
Not with my indigenous culture. That's not my forefathers. And I will gladly say that to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
With love. Because I love having respectful, I can respect you, and I can respect your point of view, and not my forefather. And I love the country I live in.
Yeah.
So like I was born here. And where my ancestors come from. So I've always known that. But I was too afraid to do something about it. Why? Because it was part of the program to begin with. I didn't want to offend white people. I didn't want to offend white people about something that was eating my soul alive, but that's part of the program, especially when you're born into it. Garrain Jones. Hey, Jones. Well, let me show you where Jones came from. There's a guy, and because it's a system, it's not a name. Like they created your last name was hijacked as well by the Roman Empire. Like nobody really knows their last name. It's like back in the day, it's whatever your work trade was, like Bickerstaff. That means your ancestor worked with a Bickerstaff, and that became the last name. But the indigenous culture, and indigenous means the people that were there first.
Yeah.
Their names changed as they spiritually grew. I've always known my name was Jones, and those type of names like Thomas and all those names were given for tax purposes. So you might think you know your lineage, and at some point it's going to stop because there's certain records that they burn, and you just never know. And so, but it's just harder for Black and brown people because of all of the slavery, and then they took the last name of the plantation owners and anything. So John, there was a guy by the name of John's son from Europe that created the Johnson plantation, John's son, and the Jones plantation. And there was Jones, there was Memphis, Tennessee, and those plantations but it was a system, but there was several people because it was a system that governed those names. My whole dad's side of the family is from Memphis, Tennessee. And so I've just known this, but I just like anytime I would ever see somebody that would change their name for this reason, they'd be like, F the white man. And I was like, well, I'm not like that. So whatever that is, it didn't feel right in my body based off the way that it was shared.
Yeah.
And so when I started doing my music, which was one of the biggest avoidances of my life, my greatest capacity to create is musically. And people seeing all this other stuff, that is nothing compared to who I am. That's why I can relate to Mike. Like the things that he says, I've always said, and he was willing to be all of that. And I was willing to be 2%.
Why'd you hide from it? I know this is another tangent. Maybe we need to revisit that, but why'd you hide from it for so long?
When I saw people like Gandhi and Nelson Mandela, and I always knew it was me. Energy. And I said, those are the type of people who get killed. And I consciously shut it off.
Michael Jackson, same thing happened to him. Yeah.
Until recently, my grandmother, who's on the other side, visited me. And she was like, Garrain, you're climbing the wrong tree. You were never meant to be the most polarizing person. You were meant to whisper great secrets in the most powerful leaders' ears. And there's a thing, because I was trying to be polarizing. It's one thing when you're just being. Like somebody can say, Garrain, you're like a prophet. I can't say it. I can't say, oh my God, like, I've never seen anything like you're like a shaman. Every time I name something, now I'm in the ego. Now all of a sudden it just goes away. I can only be. And I don't mind saying that. And in the being, it's always protected. Mike had to deal with his insecurities of his nose and all of that. That wasn't the being, that was the human. So that's a teetering of the being. But he gave himself fully. I'm still learning that level of trust. Who are you to say that you're better than? No. We all have it. It's how much you want to let in. It's how much you want to trust. You think you just go to sleep and have these random dreams? You think you just have dream state dreaming that you're in ancient Greek Roman time? You think that just comes from like a normal ass human? You think that you can be in a room full of people and you're like, something feels off and you leave and all of a sudden there's a shootout. You think that version of you is just normal? No, it's just undertrained. You can develop that version of you the same way you developed the ABCs, but that was for the linear being, not the multidimensional being. And so I was afraid of my bigness. And it's ultimately little Garrain just playing life out. That's what it really is. Everybody has a calling on their life. Every single person. Mine is music. I know it. I know my medium is music. They're like, yo, you didn't know, and I'm going to get to the name thing. You didn't know how to play the piano. You hated software. You hated wires. And you just decided, I'm going all in. And within 4 days, you were producing your first song. And then all of a sudden, in 8 months, you got 52 transmissions. Garrain, you know that's not normal. It's normal for someone who was born to do it. Because when you're born to do it, now you're not dealing with 10,000 human hours. That's ancient text coming through your vessel. So your only job is to purify your vessel. So any lies you're holding, any secrets that you're holding, any resentment that you have, anybody that you haven't forgiven, any levels of health that having you bogged down, you're dealing with the human plane when there's so many different fragments of you, multidimensional beings. So when I gave myself full permission to go all in on my music, it started to shatter the reality that I knew of because I've never operated from who I was born to be. Never in my life. They've been thoughts, but I got scared. Then I sabotaged myself. And I'm like, no, let me go do this easy thing that looks good for other people. And where I would hide is if my good enough was better than most people around me, great place to hide. But deep down inside, I knew I was playing small. We all actually do. We all know that we're playing small. And we always play, many of us play this same game, not knowing that if you just surrender to the calling and you stay in your divinity, it will always be protected. So that's why I'm not afraid anymore. Because I trust God more than I trust my human self. So the name, when I started doing the music, every song, which I call signals, I would get a signal and it would prophesy what was about to happen in the future. I was like, so the name of the album is called A Signal of Truth. So in order for me to put out the purity of truth, everything that was an untruth had to go away. This So I'm working on a song and all of a sudden I'm meditating and I'm in some red earth place that's before it was colonized as Africa. I'm like, what is this thing? And all of a sudden, once I just accepted being there, all these ideas started coming and I'm just remembering my childhood and things that I've experienced, a truth that I've never shared before. So when I'm writing this song called Stolen Influence, because most of the things that people glorify today don't even realize that state of origin came from Africa. Swiss chocolate, that don't come from no Swiss. It comes from Congo. Our cell phones, our cell phones, our computers, the electric cars, the main part that makes that go comes from Congo. All those diamonds and everything, like, you'd be like, oh my God, crystals are demonic. Well, let me tell you the route of where majority of diamonds come from, blood diamonds, and where the majority of them come from. Africa, gold, Africa, all these different things. So, I mean, Gucci patterns and all Louis Vuitton, that is sourced from some lady in Africa. And so all of these things that become this luxury stuff is hijacked from that part of the world. And so I started writing a song that was really talking about, and I participated in it too, how Africa has influenced dance, music, art, fashion, everything. And we just celebrated without giving credit from where it came from, like really real credit. And so like, oh, I came up with this. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And so I have a song and I'm going to sing the lyrics because this is where my name came from. Because I forgot. Right here? It was while I'm writing.
Sing right now.
Like, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
It was in the song that I was writing. I was like, wait a second. My name is a part of Stolen Influence. Wait a second. So I woke up out of a spell I didn't even know that I was in. I was like, why would I just blindly wear a slave owner's name and then give that to my kids, knowing that names aren't just names, they're a signal that hold frequency. This is why I don't call Jesus, Jesus, because the letter J is only 500 years old. It's actually Yahshua, Yod He Vov He. In Aramaic, you don't change the name because it changes the signal and the frequency. So I'd rather refer to him as Yeshua or Yahshua or Yod He Vov He. And you can't say Yod He Vov He, it's Yod He Vov He. Because names, when you just change anything, like what's your name?
Daniel Alexander Zek.
Okay, when I say Daniel, how's that feel in your body?
Good.
Okay, so if I'm like David, David. You see that?
Yeah.
You don't just change names.
No.
If I just call anybody in this room out their name, it's going to change something. Hey, that's not my name.
This is why Eileen, you met Eileen. Yeah, you met Eileen. She used to say source. And she's like, I don't say source anymore. Source takes the power out of the name. It's God. And yes, it's been hijacked by religion. I understand. Some people get offended by it, but that's not what I mean anyway. People who will get it, get it.
Yeah.
And I say God, because that carries a depth that reverberates in your chest. And it's like, there's power in that name, God.
So names aren't just names. However you identify is shaping and creating your life. Because this universe is plastic. And it was like, well, why does everything change? You got to realize your connection to this universe as you inverse. As above, so below, as within, so without. These aren't terms that people just throw out. So I was just coming up with this song and writing this song. And I'm like, when I was just a youngin' trying to get good grades, they kept writing me up for the songs I sang. A big disruption. Teacher fussing. He's bad, but had the whole class rocking this. Little white boy screamed at me with rage. Go back to Africa, the meanest face. I thought it was shucking. I started huffing. Something deep inside of me started erupting. The teacher called called the cops and told me I'm going home, and that didn't feel right. I said something was wrong. They were shaped by the system that gave me the shovel. Well, I just dug up the coffin of a slave master's soul. The skies within the given name I hold. Man, woke up, was under a spell, man. I couldn't even spell, man. I see it now, I'm home. So guess I'm going back to Africa. I'm going back to Africa. We need a new guiding light, 'cause we are all blinded by the stolen influence. And that's the first verse. So I was coming up with this song. We were sold a history they tried to erase, and then they bottled it up and we drank it away. The home of the brave is the throne for the slaves, and this is where we live at. Time to pull the lid back, so let's tell the honest truth from the souls in the grave and wake all of us up from the roads they have paved, the clothes they have made, the stones from the caves. They're songs that were kidnapped, dancing to the rhythm found in you. Blinded by the trickum of the hue. Man, we're trying too hard to be cool, man. We're set up to lose, man. Instead of being the glue. That's why I'm going back to Africa. I'm going back to Africa. We need a new guiding light, 'cause we are all blinded by the stolen influence. Every liar knows what lie they told. Every colonizer knows the truth they hold. Mount Rushmore on the land they stole. This government cheese starting to smell like mold, and propaganda programming all our brains. Divided us up, then you stole our names. Made the world believe the blacks started as slaves and sold us fake heroes Columbus Day. And I dug a little deeper and I found my way. We're dead and I resurrected from the grave. And now I'm back feeling like a superhero, inspiring the people to come together. Last part. So let me break it down while I light up this lavender. Take a look around. This is not just about Africa. It's tragical. When you take the people and divide us up, then put us in a prison construct to black and white us up. We're called in this rainy season to come together. I know deep inside you are fed up. United is one, we can do it. We gotta climb to the top of this mountain. Spirit lead us, 'cause we have fallen. I know that together we're stronger. United is one, we can do it. We gotta see through the stolen influence.
Most healthcare today operates on an outdated mechanistic model, treating the body like a battlefield rather than a self-healing system. You wait months for an appointment only to receive a rush diagnosis that labels you rather than truly understanding your unique health. Even in holistic health, many practitioners rely on endless lab tests and supplement protocols, addressing symptoms instead of the root cause. And the result? Another prescription or supplement regimen that merely suppresses or masks symptoms rather than facilitating true healing, whether the imbalance was physical, emotional, energetic, or a mix of all three. And that's why Dr. Tom Cowan co-founded the New Biology Clinic, to offer something radically different. As one of the most respected natural health doctors in the world, Dr. Cowan has spent decades challenging conventional medicine and advancing a deeper understanding of human biology, water, and natural health. His work isn't just about rejecting the mainstream, it's about offering a more truthful, biologically coherent approach for healing. The New Biology Clinic recognizes that health isn't about fighting disease, it's about restoring balance. You're not a diagnosis, you're an individual with a unique story, and healing should honor that. With virtual consultations available worldwide, the clinic offers a flat-rate monthly membership that gives you direct access to practitioners who take the time to actually listen. Members also get exclusive health live streams, a resource library, and live sessions covering everything from biofield tuning and breathwork to movement and meditation, all designed to support whole body healing. And if you're not ready for a membership, you can book a one-time appointment, sign up for an enrichment-only membership for the healing modalities alone, or schedule a free connection session with one of the care team members to see how the New Biology Clinic can help in your specific situation. This isn't about keeping you dependent on doctors. It's about making you sovereign over your health. Head to newbiologyclinic.com and use code THEWAYFORWARD, and that's spelled The Way, FORWARD, for $50 off account activation, or just head to the show notes for more info. If you're a member of The Way Forward, email hello@thewayforward.com for $150 off. Your body already knows how to heal, and New Biology Clinic helps you remember. Oh my God, man. Oh my goodness.
So this type of stuff is just coming out.
I thought your speaking was good. Oh my God, dude. That was just one song. Oh my goodness, man.
And every single one of them is like that.
Yeah.
I would have never written a song like that. And I said, God, use me. You can have all of me. If you can do anything with me, I'm an absolute yes. I will write what you ask me to write. I will go wherever you ask me to go. And I'm hearing voices in my head. It says, don't get a major recording contract. I want you to go with me. I will provide all the necessary resources for you. As my money is draining, all of a sudden, somebody walks up to me and goes, hey, do you know what this is? And I'm like, no. He was like, oh man, I had a dream that 2 years ago, I just ended up getting this, and that I was going to make revolutionary music that wake up people and transform. And he came to my retreat and he said, and I want you to have it. But what he doesn't know, that 2 months prior, I was in the studio session and I asked this guy and I said, hey man, what kind of mic is that? He was like, oh, man, it's a really good mic. I was like, how much is it? He was like, $20,000. I was like, damn, that's quite a bit of money. I was like, well, if God wants me to have that mic, I'll take it. Go back into the story. I said, what is it? He said, it's a microphone. This is the one from 2 months later at the retreat. Mm-hmm. He said, this is the one that Michael Jackson used and Drake uses. And I said, how much is that mic? He says, $20,000. He was like, I want you to have it. Will you take it? So not only did my name come out of that, somehow God is purifying my life so that I have the capacity to hold. That was just one song. That's just one song. When I was 4 years old, he threw me in a dryer. I didn't know what to do. I started yelling out. Thank God this lady saved me, 'cause I wouldn't be here crazy. Another one gone too soon. Just need to walk it out. Ooh, ooh, I hate him. Ooh, ooh, don't trust him. Ooh, ooh, gas chamber. Ooh, ooh, just cuff him. Ooh. Oop, don't like them with all that hate inside. I found another side. Thank God I learned forgiveness is freedom. I know. I know. Forgiveness is freedom. I know. I know. So don't you hold hate inside ya. So they just keep on coming and keep on coming. I didn't know how to produce, and somehow I'm creating all the music. I know how to play the piano. I know how to do all the software because I'm fully trusting God to use my vessel to create what needs to be created out in the world. God, take my eyes so I can see what you see. Take my heart so I can feel what you feel. You can have all of me. I surrender my family. I surrender my wife. I surrender my money. I surrender my business. I cut half of my business. I'm taking way less pay now. And somehow people want to be a part of my project. They're like, well, let me help you with this. Let me give you this right here. Let me give you the studio access. Because it ain't selfish intent. I'm just allowing myself to be used at maximum capacity. And somehow God did not want that signal on my crown called Jones. And I'm sitting in a diner with my wife, who is very white with blonde hair and blue eyes and the epitome of the program. And I can't tell her. I'm trying to tell her I want us to change our names. I'm like, and it can't come out. And I'm about to throw up. I can't get it out. There's something. And nobody knows me to not be an expressed person. But I'm staring at the program. At the exact same time, the lady right next to us starts throwing up, having a heart attack, and literally dying at the table. I go and save her life because this is just what I do. She was like, who are you? In my head, I'm like, I should probably give myself the table's full of throw up. And I knew that it was because what I was doing is deeply ancestral. It pierced the field. So whoever was on that wavelength, and it happened at the exact same time.
Wow.
So I came back to Blair and I said, I need to talk to you about something that's really important for me. I said, I need to change my last name. And it would mean the world to me if you and the kids could do it as well. She was like, really? Why? Because I tell you, this is not what they teach white culture. You don't just grow up in a household. Hey, just so you know, it doesn't happen. And I told her the whole John Son thing. And I said, the reason why I love country Western movies is because they always talk about, oh, this passed down my family and it goes all the way back. I said, I want that for us. I said, I want that. I don't want what we create as a family to go back to some slave owner's legacy. I said, I want us to start our own lineage. She said, what would, and she was like, yes, what would the name be? At that time, I don't know. I said, I don't know. All I know is my descendants are from West Africa. And I said, and I know the true carriers of the soul of the ancestral DNA runs through the mother's line, through mitochondria DNA. They don't teach you this in school. In this patriarchal society, the man take the woman's name, and they don't want you to connect with the original people and the original tribes. They don't want that. So they confuse, but you can track it by the way of birth. I said, my mother's maiden name is Gori. That's Gori Island off the coast of Senegal, West Africa, where one of the largest transatlantic slave trades were. As soon as I said that, there was a vibration I felt come up my whole body, and the name Asé flew out of my mouth. She was like, what does that mean? I was like, I don't know. I just hear people in Austin say it at the end of prayer. I don't know what it means.
That's so true though.
So we look up what it means, and there's several meanings. It means so it is, but it's the divine life force that flows through all things. So it's like whenever you make a decision and then all of a sudden all these synchronicities happen, the current that makes it happen is what Asé is.
Oh, wow.
And it derives from West Africa.
Wow.
So I was like, wait a second, I was just talking about West Africa.
Wow.
And all I did was consciously release that name. And that came. It wasn't outside of me. It was inside of me. It's in my DNA. I was like, well, where in West Africa? It says the Yoruba people. I'm like, well, who are the Yoruba people? It was one of the original tribes. I was like, well, where are they located? They ain't no line. It's wherever the resonance of the people are. It's like when you understand, like it's Dakota people, and inside of the Dakota people, what we would call Native Americans ain't Native Americans. They were here first.
Right. The original people.
Native is people that came from somewhere else.
The original people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the first people in that area, they went wherever the resonance of the people went. So they went, if it was cold, they'd go over here. It was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so in that part of the world, it definitely ain't white. You ain't gonna last in the sun. You gotta put all kind of tints. So like my theory is God created shades of wheat. If you look up Google shades of wheat right now, you will see every color known to man. The construct of black and white was made up. And I play the game, but if you take it all the way back, I believe the beginning people started over in that part of the world, and I guarantee you they weren't white. I'm a color theorist. All you got to do is mix up all the colors and see what color that is, and then reverse engineer. And it's dark, 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 dark. And through that dark, 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 dark brown, you can make every color. You literally make every color. And I'm an artist, so I play with paint all the time and just reverse engineer it. And then I was like, oh my God, Africa makes sense now. Why so hard on those people? Why all the gold? Why they call Africa God's country? The name And you don't see a lot about this, but the name before it was colonized Africa is called Alkebulan. And Alkebulan stands for Garden of Eden.
Wow.
Oh my, there's another side of the story. They're gonna teach you this other side of Christianity, but you don't know that Christianity was stolen from Africa. They're like, no, it's the Middle East. But what was the Middle East before it was colonized by the British? It's called Africa, homie. The Nile, Africa, Egypt, Africa. Before that, now it makes sense. Get rid of the names, strip away and everything. And so what they did is they took one of the first known, there's no complete Bibles, but
You're talking about the Ethiopian Bible?
The Ethiopian, but if you read it in English, subject to anything translated in English.
Of course.
So you get 7 different versions of them. You start noticing the consistencies. But the thing about it, that was Africa. So when you take that away, and then you strip away the names, you strip away the people, you strip away and name them slave owner names and all this other, the Bible that they gave back to Africans after they had already just mutilated the whole villages is called the Negro Slave Bible.
For real.
Go on Amazon and go read the Negro Slave Bible. See, they're not going to teach you this.
How many missing books are there in that one?
So guess what's inside?
Yeah.
Nothing about the kingdom of heaven is within. It's everything about slave and master and slave and master. So after they became slave and master, they gave them back the Bible that did not have the kingdom of heaven is within. So that's where the split of Christianity happened. So that's why when people were getting lynched and hung 80 something years ago in America, the majority of the people in that audience were Christian people and the pastor was in the audience. That was the split in the name of Jesus. So here's the other side. And I'm not going to make you wrong for being born inside of whatever it is. But if you're going to ask me my perspective, someone said to me the other day, you must really don't know what's going on in the world. I've traveled to 100 countries and not for vacation. I learn about things that are passed down from generation to generation that's hidden under houses and chests. I don't travel to vacate. I travel to learn from forest people and everything. So I actually do know what's going on in the world. And if my grandmother, after she died, had a chest that nobody knew what was underneath that chest. And then after she died, my brother found this whole entire warehouse of family heirlooms and unopened letters from 3 generations back. We all got it. So I learned from those people. And I learned about things that's not a part of our public history. And it just allows me to have a different level of peace inside and not cast out judgment, even if it comes from the split side.
Mm-hmm.
You just lack knowledge because this is the only thing that you have. Well, the Bible says, which version are we talking about? It's been translated 22,000 times.
Yeah.
Which one are we talking about? The one that was the ruler and that had nothing to do with God. So I'm going to just change it up
King
the way
James.
that I want. Anybody that creates anything, you can see their ego woven all throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get into these things from a place, not righteousness, but if someone ever wants to know my truth and things that I've learned and personally experienced that gives me a level of peace that I can sleep real good at night. I've never had a sip of alcohol in my life. So my channel is real clear and I don't do no drugs and I don't have no guilty pleasures, occasional Doritos or something like that. But I didn't grow up with that stuff. I will be glad to share. The beautiful thing is we all can have that access. It's not privy to one person. And so I don't even remember the question you asked, but something is telling me to just share this information.
Please go.
And so
I have a few more questions for sure though, but continue, please.
And so this is not to make anyone wrong. It is to say that there's so much, whatever you think is the finite truth, whatever I think is a finite truth, there are always other sides. And when I learn more about what I'm drawn to, it helps me to understand even other sides, which brings deeper compassion inside of me. And what I ultimately feel, which is why when the world cries, when World Trade Center happened, we weren't thinking about religion. We weren't thinking about like what, it was such a connection to humanity. When I was one of the rescuers and people that during Hurricane Harvey, I'm from Houston, man, I'm just going through floods and going to people's houses and helping them break the drywall and taking a crew of people. And then I walk up and then there's a freaking swastika sign there. And this person that never had been ever open to a black person look at me like that. I'm like, well, your house is fucking flooding right now. Do you need help? Because I don't care about the swastika. I care that we save some things because your house is underwater right now. And I saw this lady go like this, but they wouldn't put that in the news. So for the next 2 hours, we were breaking the drywall, saving chickens, and all this kind of stuff. And you saw her look like this. You would actually help me? Yep. I dare you to put stuff like that on the news. How people come together when we go beyond the programming. Because it's all programming.
All programming, man. All of it.
I see my son with his white friend. He don't know what that is. Ah, boom. And then we get taught things. We just get taught things. I got taught things. 5 years old. Mom. Because we didn't have a TV when I was younger. And so I never saw any white people on TV. So my first teacher, her name was Miss Hurt. I was at a new school. I was like, Mom, my teacher was cream. Her name is Miss Hurt. And you know what she said? She wasn't cream. She was white. I'm like, no, she wasn't. That wall is white. She was cream. She was white. And that's where the programming starts.
Yeah.
It's all programming.
Yeah,
but when you break the simulation, man, everybody just want to be loved, seen, and heard like they matter in the world. And I believe that our God created shades of wheat. And the closer you were to the equator, the darker you were. You would not last in that hot sun in Africa because you don't have the melanin for it. Right. This is my sunscreen.
It's not biologically appropriate.
Can't last in the fucking snow and freaking mountain regions and things like that. And so the further you were from the equator, the lighter you were. I have never put on sunscreen a day in my life. No skin issue, like literally nothing, but I have the melanin for it. And so I believe that God just spread them all out according to closer to the equator. And when you look at things like Patrick Mahomes, his daddy is dark, mama white. And we came with Patrick. Patrick has a white wife. His kids don't look mixed at all. Mm-hmm. That's one generation. So now imagine if we're all brothers and sisters in the shades of wheat, and then you add thousands of mix. And in 1955, if your grandfather was actually mixed with white, was mixed with black, he was not even allowed to say it in 1955. So even if you had a mix, you were not allowed to say it, because you'd be casted out. Yep. So you had to go with that secret. My mom was born in 1955. So you got people right now with African genes in their blood saying, oh yeah, I'm white. My family's from Europe. And you don't even know that because they were sworn to secrecy in 1955 during the racial divide. That's 1955. So now add another 1,000 years of mixes. That's why we're all connected. And when we all cry, we all feel it. When the World Trade Center happened, everybody was like, boom. That's the we all are one. And that's the world I want to see. That's the world I want to bring my kids into.
You know, it's so challenging about that because I think, especially over the last few years and it ebbs and flows, we've been purposefully divided, or there's been attempts to divide us in so many ways. And really looking at it from a zoomed out perspective, I look at it like a bunch of broken children crying out for both attention and love.
Yeah.
And I know that's easy to say because there's some real tragedies happening in the world right now. And there's some real disparities, let's say, that are happening in the world right now. But all that to say, it's like, it's broken. It's the old saying, hurt people. And it's that over and over and over and over again. And then falling for that propaganda that reinforces those same belief systems in everyone. And then when we just zoom out, it's like, man, I had this moment on the train the other day when I was coming back home from a flight, and I have my thoughts about people who identify as trans, right? And I had this moment on the train where this dude his backpack was about to get caught as the train was closing at the airport, and this trans woman pulled him onto the train. And she and I both laughed and looked at each other, and she was, it was clear she was transitioning to a dude. And like, I felt myself free of all that judgment of her story and who she is and why she believes the perspective that she believes in that moment, and just locked eyes with her and laughed. And I was like, why do I hold that judgment regarding trans people? Like, that's not my thing. That's okay though. If that's their thing, and I get it because like the whole agenda and all the stuff. Yeah. There's still that there, of 100%. Course. And in that moment, I saw her as a reflection of me. Yeah. And I'm like, how many times have I failed to do that in people that I think differently than? Back during the COVID era, how many times did I hold judgment for someone who was masked, double masked?
Me too.
Friggin' like
pink and blue hair. I'm like,
yeah, man. Yep. Like, how many times did I do that? And Edmund said something at Confluence. He said, in those moments where you're sitting on a plane next to someone in a mask and you feel the anger rise up in your body, and that person's just sitting there, la, 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 who's free and who's a slave? I was like, holy shit, how many times have I done that? And how many times are so many of us doing that instead of piercing, all do it, but it's just piercing like, all the stuff?
I think we all do it in our own way.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day. He's like, man, I can't stand those alphabet people. He was talking about the LGBTQ plus queer trans. That.
Yeah.
He said, I can't stand the alphabet people. They just be making up words. And I said, hey, it's all made up. And he woke up out of something he didn't realize he was in.
Yeah.
He was like, I was like, all these words are made up. They used to talk about wherefore art thou, and when did it shift? It's all made up. Bisesquicentennial, milk, locust. For all I know, a bird might not even be its name. Why the fuck you keep why you keep calling me a bird? That ain't my name.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm so grateful for my upbringing. I was like, my mom, she went to a Methodist church. All my friends went to a Baptist church. I had a best friend that was Jewish, and I'd go to the temple with him. And I had another best friend that was Muslim, and I go to the mosque with him. And my favorite uncle was gay. And so I grew up, and my mom just didn't say, you need to do this. She just gave me the free reins. And so that's why it's easy for me to still be a follower of Yeshua. And one of my best friends is Muslim. And I want to learn. You don't learn, but I want to be just like you. That's a robot society.
Amen.
That's probably part of the program. Yeah, take this chip. It's going to be easier. No, thank you. I would love my sovereignty to mess up and fail and learn from my mistakes. And you can have your convenience. So, yeah, it's being human is weird and so beautiful at the same time.
It is. Yeah. And it's the ability to, like, in that moment on the train that I just mentioned, like, I still hold my perspective that that's not for me, right? But I can pierce through the veil of all the different labels that we put on other people and that I put on myself. I'm in this group, you're in that group. I'm left, I'm right, I'm black, I'm white, I'm gay, I'm straight, I'm pro-vax, anti-vax. And can you just see human? Because when we can pierce all those layers and get to that, like I know you feel this. Like when you're not in your mind and you're in your heart, you feel like a flutteriness, like a presence here, right? and you move about reality differently when you're from that space. And when you can be there, you naturally pierce all those layers and you just see someone. You look into their eyes and you see them.
Yeah.
But beyond all that stuff. And that's what heals. But we're being divided in so many different ways. And then social media algorithms on top of that only exacerbate the problem. You can be sitting in the same room as someone else. My algorithm is showing me something completely different than your algorithm is showing you in an attempt to divide people. And we allow that to happen. It's like,
Bro.
what heals is being able to pierce all of that stuff and just see human.
That, what you just said, when that Charlie Kirk thing happened, there was a story that had come out about the black guy that murdered the Ukrainian on the thing. As soon as I saw that, I said, what date did that happen? It happened 3 weeks before. I walked into my COO's house, Laura. I said, Laura, something really big is about to happen in the media right now. She said, why you say that? I said, because they're putting out a story right now from something that happened 3 weeks ago. I said, I'm telling you, something's about to happen. Something's about to happen. I really don't know what it is. Hour later, Charlie Kirk gets shot. And I said, Laura, there is about to be a race war. There's going to be a religion war. This whole left-right thing is going to come again. I said, she was like, how do you know? I said, I can feel it. I said, I'm telling you. Little by little. It was like, oh no, a black man didn't do it. And then all of a sudden there's like a trans person did it. And then all of a sudden there's all these stories. I'm sitting in the room with my very white friend. Propaganda was showing me all the negative things that Charlie would say about black women. Martin Luther King deserved to die and all this other stuff and da-da-da-da-da. My friend right next to me, at the same time, we pulled out our phone, Charlie Kirk. He was like, oh, he's Christian faith man and da-da-da-da, Christian. It was a lot of Christian. I was like, oh, they're about to push Christianity hard. I said, they're about to be a black and whites war. It's going to be Muslims versus Christians again. It's going to be left versus right again. And then we just saw it play out.
100%.
Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, oh my God, they doing something with the frequencies. And everything that's happening right now, I was like, man, I was like, it's going to have so many people out of whack. And I try to protect myself as much as I could. But were you going to protect yourself from the moon? My friend goes, wait, why is the moon so important? I was like, the moon ain't just the moon. Why is it connected to all of our women's bodies and all the waters all over the world? So all you got to do is project what's in the field and the moon will amplify whatever's in the field. So if we got all this hatred and all this other stuff and blah, 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 and all this, and then all of a sudden it's the waters in the women, the waters in the seas, the waters in us, and we're not 75% water. And the moon, all it does is amplify whatever's in the field. So if propaganda can control what's in the field, well, of course, there's lots of divorces and breakups and fights and killing at an all-time high. Be like, yay, Christians versus Muslims. Yeah, of course the wars happened during that time. Of course. So that's the nature of the game. And the only thing I feel comfortable doing right now is getting closer to God and creating music and teaching people how to unlock their natural ordained expression. That's what I feel called to do.
That's the medicine. That's the medicine.
Of course, Michael would come back now.
Yeah. That's the point, though. That's what I'm getting at, is that's the medicine. A lot of people will say that in order to change the culture, you have to do that through the arts, right? And for me, it's like, it's so much deeper than being about changing culture. It's that art, for me, is a full display of our true creative essence being birthed through us. And like, that is the centropic force. It is the opposite of entropy. It is the creative force, expression through our being. So it's more than just changing culture. The culture is changed as a byproduct of everyone expressing through themselves. But so many people in the health space have become so serious and rigid with their lives. You know what I mean? It's like they miss that artistic expression, whatever that looks like for the individual, is literally an element of health, of being healthy. Like so many people don't even know what brings them joy anymore because they're so caught up in their job. They're so caught up in the role of being a mom. Like they don't know what their art is. How do you unlock that? How do you find that?
That's why I create events called Magical Unlock. These one-day retreats.
I was not teeing that up, but he did not tell me that.
No, even if you were, I would rather sell you on yourself than sell you a Rolex watch. That's why I'm not afraid to be like, yep, I'm selling you.
Yeah.
But it would be the greatest investment you ever made in your entire life when you meet the version of you that's been pinging you in your dreams and in your intuition and your meditation, and you haven't learned the skill set on how to access that.
Yeah.
So if you can remember anything that brought you joy as a child. I was working with a client, this lady, she $25 million company and great marriage on paper, family. She had all the things. She was like, something's missing. I need your help. I said, what'd you used to love to do as a kid? I used to love to dance. And I was like, how'd that make you feel? And her whole body changed. She did this. And I was like, well, why'd you stop? And then she went back. Her whole body changed again. When was the last time you danced? 20 years ago. Boom. So you got kids, right? Yep. What would happen if your kid came up to you, any one of them said, Mom, 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 listen to me. Listen to me. Mom, Mom. And you ignored them for 20 years. What would the relationship be like? When you deny expression of truth, it mutilates in unhealthy forms of truth. Sex, drugs, porn, killing. It's all expression. So that's why you can't say, oh, angry black woman or angry Mexican woman or something like that, or angry woman, period. Well, imagine a woman had to come up in this unhealthy man's world and then turn into one like fucking independent. No, that's a man.
Yeah.
You're duplicating and wondering why it's so difficult to find a line partnership. Well, if you had to come up in that world, that means your true voice. Why women don't ever speak up. Why is there a Me Too movement? Why is the number one fear in the world? People, public speaking, they don't have nothing to do with speaking. You speak every day. It's something in your sacral chakra that you don't feel confidence in the truth of your expression because your ancestors never even got the opportunity to express. So it comes out in unhealthy ways. And the reason why I say that, art's the same way. Any form of voice. Number one, you mean you fear death more than public speaking? Well, take it from a guy who had a speech impediment that's spoken now in 100 countries. What did I have to do to learn that much safety in my body to be able to walk into any room in front of anyone, no matter what their pay grade is, and never shrink my soul? It's that. It ain't speaking and you've never learned how to develop the capacity for your true expression to be valued by yourself. Because maybe mommy and daddy missed it, but they were just doing their best anyways. Maybe school, like me, I was considered the baddest kid in school. I got more discipline slips than everyone else. Student disrupting class. You know what? Want to know what I was doing? Singing. My mom, as lovely as she was, as much as she tried, my father was murdered when I was 12. So she had to be the man and the woman. You know what she was a big fan of? Shut Up in the House. I didn't even know I could sing until I was 25. It was, so guess what? Turned into sleeping with all these women and breaking into cars. But that was the mutilated form of the truth of expression that I'm finally deciding to be fully all in on, even if I have to lose the majority of my money so that God can purify my life and then make the grass grow back greener, just like the forest fires. So yes, I surrender because I trust you more than I trust myself. So when somebody is aware, you can't do anything without awareness. You can't see the picture while you're in the frame. But I'm not a morning person. All right, cool. Your family's burning up in a fire, in a house. The house is on fire where your family is right now. It's 3:00 in the morning. You ain't thinking about time, what religion you are, whether you ain't thinking about nothing. Boom, in car, boom. You just don't know the value of it. I could never wake up at 4:20 in the morning like you, Garrain, because you don't know the value of what happens when nobody is awake. And you don't open your eyes for the first hour and you walking around your house, not opening up your eyes and having the non-sight seeing train trust in your body, confidence, efficiency, focus levels, you don't know the value. So people don't show up for things that they don't know the value of. But if I showed you that you can unlock memories from when you were 6 months old by doing that, because your memory is jaded, might be a little bit more valuable. So it's about giving people context of the value of why to unlock those parts of themselves. And once you understand the value, you understand the value of brushing your teeth every day because you don't want stinky breath. Taking a shower, eating food because you don't want to starve to death. You understand the value. That's why you do it every day. You give them the value and then you've go and find, because the moment she started checking into dance classes, but I said, don't take the adult that's trying to be perfect. Take the little kid that used to just find freedom inside of that. Whether it's running around naked in your house, playing in the sprinkler, slip inside, playing with Barbie dolls. Me was singing, running. I don't run for abs. I run because that's what I love doing it. And when you find that, it's going to lead you to the thing. That's the seed. That's the acorn seed that leads to the oak tree. But you got to get to the seeding part first. Then the rooting system happens. Then the mycelium network is connected to the tentacles of the rooting system. Then the flowers start blooming. Then the fruits come out.
There's a reason God in the Bible, maybe the true version of the Bible, I think we can all agree on this, that said, be like a child. So many times. And it's because
I want to just say something.
Yeah.
The spirit in which any Bible has been written is true.
Yeah.
It might have been changed.
Yeah.
But the spirit is true.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to say that for anybody who's like, he's dogging the Bible. No. It's the spirit. The spirit in which it was written.
Amen. 100%. As the mainstream system continues to tighten its grips on average men and women, with inflation running rampant and cost of living skyrocketing, it's becoming increasingly challenging for most people to make ends meet and to really maintain and expand financial abundance. And that's where I think it's incredibly important that we adopt and really start looking into alternative financial strategies, alternative ways to structure, and then some of these technologies that exist that help us expand and grow outside of these very extractive, exploitative mainstream systems. So I'm sitting here with my dear friend, Otto Gomes from Crypto Freedom Academy, who would like to share a little bit about Crypto Freedom Academy and all of its offerings and what he teaches inside the academy.
Yeah, the academy, the main reason I created it is to create community. And I think that's the most important thing right now. You know, the currency of the future is relationships. And the technologies that we have are only as good as those relationships. And so in the academy, I try to instill in everyone a sense of empowerment to know their current relationship to the energy of exchange so that we can attract more of the medium. I help you guys utilize the technologies that are available to us, like blockchain, trust and contract law, and how to do that privately.
So if you're interested in learning more about Crypto Freedom Academy and all the things that Otto offers and his depth and wealth of knowledge on the topic of crypto and financial structuring and passive income, check out episode 241 of the Way Forward podcast with Otto, or just head to thewayforward.com, and that's thewayfwrd.com /crypto freedom, or just head to the show notes and you'll find the link there. It's said so many times in the Bible, be like a child. And the thing is that comes up for me, I think some people could misconstrue what you're talking about with respect to manifestation. It's not manifestation for selfish desires. It's allowing that childlike part of you, the innate version of who you were born into this realm already being.
You already have it.
Come online. Exactly. That's what it is. Because like some people might listen to this and say, well, I don't even know what I want. I don't even know how to access what I want. It's not about what you want though. It's about who you truly are inside of you and allowing that to express. Like you're talking about, you were disruptive in class because you were singing so much. Like that was you being you that was then shut down in so many ways throughout life. And then at age 25, you unlocked it. And you've shared this before. You at 34 versus you now, you're about to turn 47. I think I can say that on camera. Mm-hmm. Some people are, hesitant to share their age. Anyway, you look younger now than you did when you were 34. And it's because of what I'm saying. It's not manifestation for selfish desires, for worldly things. It's allowing the true essence of who you are, that childlike version of you to fully come online and express through you. Yeah. And look, you've reversed aged. People are biohacking their way to try to do that. You're just singing.
So basically what happens is nature has a natural aging process for you. There's a rhythm to nature. Mm-hmm. God didn't create a watch and time. There's a rhythm, like you can just see it. The moon, the star, like there is a system that's the original algorithm. So like TikTok and all this is like literally an outsourcing version of what God already created. So the more algorithms that you're connected to, the less you're connected to the real algorithm, which is turn the lights on when the sun comes up. As the sun comes down, start getting ready for bed. And then get onto that rhythm. Not the calendar, not the Gregorian calendar, which is like, what? It ain't the real New Year's. It's when the flowers bloom.
Yeah.
And if you connect it to the moon, the cycles of the moon, which is directly connected to our woman's bodies, which would put it somewhere around April Fools. Stop. Who made these? Who put April Fools? Yay, it's a joke. No, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
The childlike wonder and joy. It's watered down, but it's so magical. Why? Because time doesn't exist there. And I think everybody I've known has been in something where they were having so much fun. They were like, I didn't realize how much time went by. So what really is time? I've been able to compress time frames. They're like, how did all this happen in one day? Because I ain't functioning from human time. Sometimes I do. It's like, I want to get here on time. But that's when somebody else is involved. But when I'm like, how do I compress time frames? Give me the overload of that. Let me do 10 times that in that amount of time. Well, how'd you get so far ahead? Well, what really is time? But the childlike wonder, it allows you to dissolve time. It allows you to be big. I was a little kid, and it's like, oh, I want to be the president of the United States. I want to be a rap. It's always something massive. Why are majority of them 9-to-5 job out of security and fear calling another man or woman a boss? Where did that come from? Where did it go? I always wanted to be a superhero. Stronger than the average man, abs like an action figure, save and change lives all over the world. Garrain, how can you keep doing this without getting tired? Because I always wanted to be stronger than the average man, have abs like an action figure, which I have, and go all over the world saving and changing lives. I'm actually doing what I said I wanted to do when I was a little kid, and not all superheroes wear capes. My capes is the amount of lives that have been transformed over the years. So when you live from that place, I just strongly believe that God will always provide you with the necessary resources to continue doing that thing, especially if people are waking up from that. So this next iteration is called My Music.
Thank you for blessing us with some of it on this,
thank
man.
you. And I'm creating the greatest selling album and the most impactful album of all times. And my friend's like, what makes you so confident? I said, because I'm making it for me. I've never actually fully gave little Garrain full permission to create. Never. And now this one's for him. That's why it's the greatest album of all times. It ain't for y'all. It's for little Garrain, who listened to everybody tell him to shut up. Listen to people tell him he was weird for thinking about stars when he was 7, for shutting his bigness down, in and out of jail, in and out of juvenile, going through life, just not having a father figure around. I never gave little Garrain and said, go, man. This time I'm not going to stop you. It's already the greatest album and most impactful album of all times because it's healing me. And when I'm complete and done, I'm like, well, this is what worked for me. And all I'm doing is just telling the truth. That's it. This is my story. And these are things that I've learned along the way. And, maybe it reaches the voiceless parts of humanity that they try to stuff it down with cake and food and sex and porn and everything. And maybe I wasn't here to be the shallow friend. But I can tell you, when I start telling the truth in 2013, and first message I got from somebody when I shared what's really going on in my life, and I'm so vulnerable, he said, thank you for your strength. I put the gun down when I read your testimony. And I was like, I thought vulnerability was weakness. You mean it could save a life? And that's when everything changed for me. And now I get to save my own life because little Garrain deserves it. He deserves it. I've done it. I've people pleased with everybody else. And meanwhile, he's the one with all the ideas, all the creativity. So my goal is to just create an atmosphere and create the kind of world where the little kid inside of the adult is actually happy.
Beautiful. Beautiful, man. Thank you for sharing, bro.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. The last thing that I wanted to visit with you, because I feel that having heard your story a few times now, as I was prepping for this podcast, like your 12-year prison sentence that you had, you're in the middle of it. You're literally in prison thinking you're serving 12 years, if I remember correctly. And there's still a voice in you saying, trust, like that this is all going to work out. And
not till later.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, dude. Understandably.
Yeah.
But still, in the midst of being in prison, right, you have this wave of trust eventually come over you, and you describe finding freedom in the spot where you are physically the least free, which is incredibly ironic. But the reason I want you to share this is because going back to the beginning of this conversation, we're talking about trust. In that situation, there was nothing logically that would indicate that you had any reason to trust that it was all going to be okay. And then by going into a deep state of trust, your sentence was shortened tremendously, and you were let out early in a way that you did not see coming. So I would just like for you to share that, because there's so much medicine in that, and it's an incredible example.
But
of
it speaks
trust.
more to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So from 2002, I got busted for, and this was in the height of my modeling career. So I'm on billboards in Times Square. I'm like in music videos, like Beyonce. A lot of people handpicked me off the Wilhelmina wall, because she was also with Wilhelmina. So she picked me as her love interest in the Destiny's Child Jumpin' video. So if you look at that video, you'll see me. I was like 19 years old. So she picked me off the wall. It was like, I want him as my love interest.
That wall did so much for you that time, dude.
Yeah. So 2002, in the height of my modeling career, I didn't know what personal development was really at that time. So I didn't know, like, lack of integrity. I didn't know what integrity was, or just
you didn't have it modeled
ego.
for you.
No, I didn't have a model for it.
You didn't have a model for you.
But the models that I had were, I get all this money and da-da-da. And I'm like, so I get all this money, especially as a man. And my greed, had taken over. And even though I was all these places, modeling checks wasn't coming as soon as you did the job. Like, you'd have to wait for a while. And then I remember being in France. I was dating. I've got quite the colorful story. I think it was like Miss France 2001 or 2000. It's one of those. I was dating Miss France. And she was out of town. And then I just went to some club called Pink Flamingo or something like that. And pink something. And I saw these guys that I knew from LA. They weren't my friends, but I knew of them because they were shot callers in the clubs in LA, all the girls. I always knew I was supposed to have the cars and the money and that kind of influence, but I just didn't know how to get it. So I just asked him, I was like, how can I get what you have? And then we had a few choice words in the club, and he just gave me opportunity to make money. Probably at the lowest level, which was drive a car, this luxury car, over this, to this ferry. I was in the UK, to this ferry, over this border, come into Amsterdam, and just deliver the car to Rotterdam. And they would give me an envelope, and it was like, what was it? Like 6,000 pounds at that time. And the pound at that time was the ultimate bill. It was 2.3 US dollars. I mean, 2.3 US dollars equal 1 pound.
Mm-hmm.
It was somewhere around that, or 1.7 or something like that. Anyways, I was like, $10,000 to drive this. And I had faith, and I just did it. I did that route 7 times. Then my greed, I was like, just one more time. Everything about that route felt wrong. Everything in my soul was like, stop. I never got caught at the border. But this time, going from France into the UK, I got caught at the border, and they x-rayed my vehicle. There was 6.2 kilos of heroin in it.
Wow.
So you take the most anti-drug person you will ever meet, and I'm getting busted for drugs. So when the word got out, nobody even believed the story. They were like, drugs? Him? No, greed. I'll do anything to make money that time. Then I got busted, and I was in prison for a whole year before I even got sentenced. In America, you're like guilty until proven innocent. There, here
it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah. There, you're guilty, and you got to prove yourself innocent. And the thing about it is, there's like 6 prosecutors on one panel. And if you appeal, they'll see it as a sign of disrespect, and they'll give you more time.
Wow.
Especially coming from, during that time, people in France didn't like George Bush. So they associated me with the people that they didn't like, especially
just
the judicial people.
Citizen. That's it. Just because you're an American citizen.
Just because I was American and citizen. So I'm in there, and they're just like, I'm the only American in that whole place. And I'm just like, man. And then reality started to sit in there. Like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
I had it going great. And I had to let greed take over. More money. That's all I could think about. So it didn't matter what I did to make the money. So then it hit in. But why reality set in is my first daughter. I have a daughter who's 24 named Kylia right now. She was just born. I was about to be the next MTV VJ right after Caduce. I had to go in and read for the producers. I was up for movies. I was in the height of my modeling career. I was in all these. You could walk into the mall at one time and you'd see me in 6 different stores. You see me at Express Men, Skechers, Structure turned into Express, Target. All these things. So I was in the height of that. Greed, more. And greed took me right there. And my daughter was just born. And I was like, what was I thinking? So for the first 2 years, that's the only thing I could think about. Bro. What was I thinking? Oh my God.
That had to feel like mental hell for the first 2 years.
Well, think about it. If you look at a clock.
Yeah.
And you're in a hurry to go somewhere, and you 30 minutes, just watch the clock go around. It'll feel like 3 hours. I did that for 2 years. And here was the thing that broke it. Oh my God, I'm having a breakthrough right now. Oh shit. I felt the ultimate sign of betrayal that happened while I was in prison. My only piece of sanity was my business manager. I said, can you please pay child support? just knowing that I could contribute to my daughter. Just please. And I'm just like, and I'm thinking that it's getting paid. So 2 years, I'm like checking in with that. And the consulate told me nothing has been paid. And she actually ran off with all your money.
Oh, man.
And there was nothing I could do. And that broke me. I'm punching the wall till my hands turn bloody because there's nothing I could do. Literally nothing. It broke me. And I said, I'm going to die unless I start doing something different. I gotta. So all of a sudden I was just trying to do everything I can to take my mind off of things. So I just stopped using I was already doing it, but I put a lot of emphasis on it. I stopped using my dominant hand and just started using my non-dominant hand. All of a sudden, something in my brain just started calming down. I'm like, what? This is crazy.
Pattern disrupt.
I was literally making cake from aluminum from my toothpaste, and I flipped the aluminum, and then I made an oven. Like I made this homemade oven with candle wick. It was the craziest thing. I'm making cakes for people and selling the cakes for Canteen is where they would get like other snacks. Like, oh, can you make me another cake? So I started being real creative. And then I learned fluent French and I learned fluent Braille. So I'm just doing things I wouldn't normally do. And I'm just reading all these imaginative type books like Agatha Christie, where I'd have to solve these riddles in my head. So it's like problem solving brain. So something about shifting my brain into just doing different things and problem solving. Then I started I was watching this movie called Shawshank Redemption. It's a movie that's based out of prison. And Tim Robbins, he said, they can take anything they want away from me, but they can't take away my mind. And that one phrase. And I was like, I know why I'm in prison. Because when I was free, I used to say, I feel like I'm so far away from where I'm supposed to be in life. I feel like I'm in prison inside of my own body, far away from where I'm supposed to be. So here I am, far away from where I'm supposed to be in Europe, in prison. I'm like, did I think myself in here? Well, if I can think myself in prison, well then, in that case, I'm a free man. And I just kept saying, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. That became my daily mantra before I knew what that was. I'm free, I'm walking around, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. Most people are like, I'm ugly, I'm ugly, I'm ugly, I'm not worthy. When's it ever gonna happen? I'm too old, I need a man now. I need a man, need money. And I'm like, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, what would a free person do? And a voice inside said, everything you used to love to do as a child that brought you the most joy. And I'm like, I used to love art. Why did I stop painting and stuff? So I started painting, and all of a sudden I'm winning competitions outside of the prison from stuff that I'm painting. I'm like using my brain, and I'm using my non-dominant hand, and I'm like really creative. And then all of a sudden I'd sing. And then an inmate goes, every time you sing, it makes me feel free. And I would just sing because something was happening to me every time I would just let my voice go out. And I was so creative. I heard a bird outside my window go, doo, 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 every morning, doo, 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 doo. And all of a sudden I made a song called Melody to Snap To that put that song, that melody. And this is in my mind. I'm creating songs and making beats in my head, and they were all swing beats because I could maintain the swing beat when I was in prison. We gotta start with love between ourselves, then we can love one another. Don't point the finger at someone else, cause it's up to you to discover that the truth alone can set you free. So you must pull back the covers. The world is dressed in black and white, and the music is the color. Cause without the truth, we can't be healed. And if there's no feeling, then there's no love. Da, 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 da. That was the bird sound. So I created a song just so I can get to that while I was in prison. And I'm not thinking that that's an abnormal thing. There's just something happening when I'm doing everything I used to love to do when I was a kid, and I just keep doing it because all I had was time. And then a little voice goes, Garrain, run. You love to run. Well, nobody else is running in the yard. I saw fights. I saw drug deals. I saw people stabbing each other. They're all working out, playing soccer. It was football over there. And nobody's running. Meanwhile, there's a voice inside that said, Garrain, run. You love to run. So finally, one day, I just started running. And it went from, the fou, crazy American. I went from crazy American to all of a sudden, somebody else started running with me. And then somebody else started running with me. And in 30 days, there was 60-something inmates running with me. And my mom said, I always knew that you were supposed to run. I was like, how'd you know? She said, it normally takes babies 11 months to walk. She said, you were full-blown running at 7 months. And it was the craziest thing. So I would buy you a bike. You would just run everywhere. I didn't know that that was an access point to a portal where God uses me. All of my things that I've created out in the world happen on my morning runs at 4:20 a.m. And so I just started running in prison. There was less fights, less drug deals. So I wasn't trying to do that, create less fights. I was just doing what I loved, and people were interpreting it the way that they were interpreting it. When I felt free, it's a feeling is the secret. It's a felt sense. It's not, I'm fighting for freedom. No, that's fake freedom. I learned about that in prison. When I felt free, it was like there was a level of calm. There was a level, despite everything, I'm in that stage right now. This is how I know. Watch, next 6 months is going to be an explosion. They're like, how did Garrain get so? I wasn't trying to get far. I was just in the next iteration of coming out of my larva stage. I don't know. The caterpillar crawls for a portion of his life, larva stage, and all of a sudden he's got wings. I don't know what my wings are. What I do know is I'm no longer in that thing that I was just in. And guess what? All of the circumstances are still the same. But I'm different. My energy is different. I'm not worried. And I know this feeling because this was the same exact feeling that I felt when I felt the most free in prison. And then all of a sudden, they called me into the office, which they had no reason to call me into the office. They had already tested the drugs 3 times, 6.2 kilos of heroin every time. All of a sudden, I feel different. Jones, we retested the drugs. 90% was fake. And for the amount that was real, you've done the time. You're free to go home. So I've invested $500,000 traveling the world, learning 100 different ways to discover what was that powerful that it could rewrite something that was finite by humans. And the only thing I can come up with is the unnamed God. And Nikola Tesla said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. I was like, oh, you know it has energy, frequency, and vibration? Music and people. People are like human notes on a piano. That's why you can play a high enough frequency and you can crack that glass, which means if you find the right frequency, as we're electrical and vibrational beings, you can lift up any trauma. And so I just traveled the world learning what that was, how to teach it, how to bring people into that coherent resonance where healing happens. I'm not a healer, but I know the frequency of it. And when people come up to me that have been serving ayahuasca, they're like, I didn't know you could get that deep without plant medicine. Let me introduce you to this thing called the little kid that feels free. That power Why is it so powerful? Because it's the closest thing to God. If you want to know what God's personality is, watch little kids. Wonderment, joy, laughter, freedom, bold, brave, always creating. So if you start creating and using your intuition and really coming from that place, you are using the very nature that created all of this. Hence, the name of my company, Artist Power, the little kid who remembers.
Boom. That was beautiful, man. Thank you so much for being here and sitting down with me, man. This healed a lot of things in me.
Me too. I told you a second, I was like, I just had a breakthrough. So I was able to articulate. I was like, wait a second. That's that feeling of freedom that I had right before I got to deal with Ludacris. And right before, they were like, how did you? I had to pass through my school so that I could have the capacity for where God is bringing me. Otherwise, 99% of people who win the Powerball lottery go bankrupt the very next year. Why? Because you don't have the capacity to hold for that vibration. And God is like, no, I need you to have the capacity first. When they want to build a house, they dig first, excavation. And according to that foundation, that determines what kind of house you want to build. You want a small house, small excavation. I do not have small dreams. And I know you don't either. So the bigger the dream, bigger the excavation. You got to dig deep to build high. They don't build skyscrapers on the surface. So if you want a shallow life, shallow digging. Big life, big resistance. Big life, big deep. Big love, big deep. Big excavation. Nobody plants weeds. They come with the ecosystem. So resistance comes with the ecosystem of your elevation. So if you lean into it, you'll get the lesson. And once you get the lesson, then you'll get the blessing.
There are so many nuggets in this episode, man. I hope people listen to this 2, 3, 4, 5 times, man. This is a blessing, man.
So let's set that intention.
Yeah.
I want to set a powerful intention for the codes, the message, the things said, unsaid, the energy, the vibration of everyone in this room that contributed to this seed of possibility. May it reach the most unreachable places. May it tend the most untendable grasses. May it connect with humans on a level of the voiceless, which is inside of all of us. And may people find the comfort of hope, transformation, not feeling alone, feeling seen, heard, and met as who they are. And may we release this signal, and may it be protected and guided and reach who it's meant to reach. So if it's meant to reach billions, then God have your way. Millions, then God have your way. Thousands, then God have your way. One person, God, have your way. And we fully surrender and trust. Ashe, Aho, Amen.
Amen. Garrain, my brother, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for your bravery to create spaces. So like people like me, stories, which is so many people, have wings. It's a great partnership and I appreciate you.
Thank you, bro.